everybody. This is Crystal and Derek Oliver, and we are on tonight's Financial Freedom Friday, and we are so excited about coaching you to financial freedom. We come on every Friday night, and our goal really is to continue to build your financial literacy so that you can start building a financial legacy. So we want to see as many families as possible really truly build their financial legacy and close the wealth gap. And so we're excited to have our guests with us tonight. We have
Maurice and Renata Henderson. I'm so glad to have you guys on tonight. Man, been watching you guys from afar for a minute. And man, y'all really rocking it out with Coffee Black and making your presence known in the community and just even nationwide. And even you guys are about to travel to Africa. And I think that's, man, it's a dope journey, it seems. So welcome to the platform. Glad to have you on.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. So just tell us a little bit how it all started for you guys. Like what kind of piqued your interest to gravitate towards coffee?
I think coffee was just kind of like a background thing growing up. But when I went to college, I started going to more coffee shops. Went to like this private Christian college outside of Chicago. And so it was this kind of like the cultural thing out there too, is like coffee shops and stuff. So I was just there doing homework or working on music. And I just was digging the vibe. I was like, this kind of dope. And so I started going more and more. And I have like a nerdy personality. So like, I just like to like geek things that I think are interesting. Like, when I was a kid, it was like comic books or like, anime or something. And so now that I'm an adult, you nerd out on different beverages or, specialty food or what a cheese, whatever, it's just a little interesting hobby. So I was interested in it. And so I was going to shops a lot. And then when my wife and I got married, she was the first person to really give me permission to kind of financially invest in it as something more than just, a hobby. She bought me an espresso machine, which was like the first time I feel like I had permission, as a Black man to spend money on something that's not a necessity. You know what I mean? Grow up poor is kind of like, or working class. I would say who grew up working class. I think grow up class, you kind of like spend money on things that aren't essential, and so you can get something cheaper, you buy it cheaper. Unless you might got certain name brands, and Mama Jessie was real serious about her name brands for certain things, but like coffee was not one of those things. It was like you got your brand you like, but it's a very cheap brand, and you're not spending. The idea of spending $20 on a bag of coffee just sounded ridiculous.
Yes.
Saw guys, Renata. I don't know. She just like she was like.
I think when growing up, that's something my parents really poured into the things that we were interested in or the things that we were good at, and they would put money into it. They would put money behind it. And so I was like, man, he's been talking about this coffee, making all these weird drinks and making me let me buy him this little good old machine for Christmas. So he was super excited, and he really ran with it. But what I appreciated was that like he made it his, and so it became like, wasn't just like the machine that we had that got wasted. Like he used it, and it was kind of like a blossoming point for him.
Yeah, that's dope.
I don't think I've ever heard that story.
Yeah,
I love the idea of you really just investing into his dream and into an idea that he had, and just saying, hey, let's put a little bit of money behind this. You didn't put like a whole lot of money, but you put some money behind and kind of help to ignite that dream. So I love that. What role do so one of the things that we're focused on is trying to show how married people can work together. Okay. And so how you can make your money together, you can be on mission together. And so the topic of this series that we're doing right now is marriage, money, and mission. And so what role, I know that you guys are working together full time. And so what are your roles
very full time. This only I was like, man, we feel it.
We
we feel it.
We feeling it. It's real.
So what are your roles within the organization?
We're both owners. right now, you heard that story, like Renata really was the first person to really put money into it and say this is possible. And so, she's the first investor.
It's really mine.
Really her business. Renata's also the graphic designer, so she does all the graphic design. She's also our roaster, so she roasts the coffee for us. She's also the COO, so she does all our systems and operations. She's also over inventory.
Man, that's like 5 hats right there. You got like.
And she's also head of HR, so she does the hiring. I do the firing. Does the hiring over the like all of our like system needs or things like that. So setting staff meetings, making PowerPoints for those.
Wow.
She does a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a list right there.
I was looking tired, Crystal, just 10 minutes ago.
And run a household at the same time.
We gonna leave the camera facing this way though, because we don't want y'all to see the damage on the other side. When I talk about my husband's role in Coffee Black, it's usually in some form of like visionary. I know Brandis talked to us once about like one person needs to be black and white to the color, so one person's the color, he's definitely the color. So like he's got all these grand ideas of empowering our communities, Black communities. And I think it's just been so cool to see it turn from telling me all the time, because it was brand new to me. For me, coffee, it was kind of a background thing too. Mm-hmm. I never got super into it. I think I have like a caffeine sensitivity. But to hear him talk about it, like when we first got met, our first date was a coffee shop. Mm-hmm. It was the best latte in the city. We're not gonna say where it was.
Yeah, my palate has developed.
And it also was not the best latte even then. But to see that growing from, our first date to this is what brings money into our house.
Wow.
Like that's crazy to see, and that was you, that was him. And so he's our visionary, he's our social media, everything. So he's the face. Okay, he is the absolute face of Coffee Black. When I go out,
trying to make her the face.
I don't even go out. People are just like, "Are you the wife of Coffee Black?" And I'm like, also known as Renata, but yes.
It has become synonymous with Coffee Black.
Yeah,
that's neat though.
They don't even call him Bart Jones. They're just like, "Are you Coffee Black?"
Yeah,
I've gotten that multiple times. He's our glue. So like at staff meetings, I'm like, you have to remember this. You have to remember this. You have to remember this. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, man, I'm just so grateful for you guys. Like, I don't know what we would do. And I'm like, yeah, that too. But you have to remember this. You have to. He's the glue. He's like the heart. He always says he's the coffee and I'm the black.
Yeah. So we're not to be ready to get it in. I think that her brings a reality to it. I'm just a big coffee nerd, and I be rapping and stuff, and I like teaching people about things I'm interested in. So,
but he inspires people, like he knows how to take a vision from it, and so I'm that to me, I love that. Mm-hmm. I love to watch that because people just buy into it. Like people just buy into his vision, and it's not a gimmick. And that's what I think. I appreciate. He's a very humble person. So,
man,
that's good.
Yeah. Y'all make that's a deadly combination. Yeah, has a heart and the soul, and then the person. I think Crystal kind of play that role. You the color, I guess I'll be the black, right? Down to business. I'm very black and white. She adds a lot. She's the visionary. I kind of execute. So
you got to do it.
It's personalities.
Yeah, and you got to play towards your strengths. You got to play towards your strengths. So,
play towards the strengths. Yeah. I can say this. I will say this just to comment on the two of y'all and kind of what I've seen, because I've been working in y'all's coffee shop a little bit. And I heard Alex say something once, and I think about it all the time now about coffee black and just like basically creating a culture where no cream and no sugar, right?
No sugar, no
And so
cream.
no sugar, no cream. And so I literally think about that all the time. So he's, you know, when I heard him explain that to somebody, I was eavesdropping. Well, I was there and I just heard it. And it just makes me, it's something that I think about often. It's sort of like, and he talked about like culturally that, you know, not just even African Americans, but just people, we are expected to kind of like sugar down our personalities and water down kind of who we are, you know? And so it's something, I just heard it one time, but it resonates with me. And I think about it all the time. And I'm sure it's a lot of things that you've taught Alex that, I'm sorry, I call you Alex. Maurice, that's just one element, right? It's so many other things that you've taught. What is something that for you, and maybe Renata, you can answer this too, that that has kind of like really, since you've been studying coffee, like something that has really been like a highlight for you? So for me, it was the concept of black coffee, no sugar, no cream. But what about for you all personally?
Yeah, I think for me, one of the biggest takeaways has been the spiritual aspect of coffee and kind of the role that coffee plays in the spiritual lives of Ethiopians. You know, Ethiopia is the world's cradle for a lot of civilization, but also coffee. Coffee comes from Ethiopia. And as I've kind of gone through this process of decolonizing, my perspective on coffee has led me to Ethiopia, finding out they discovered it first and so on and so forth. And it's also be in that place where coffee is so essential is also where Christianity is the oldest place. It's the oldest people are in Ethiopia. The oldest Christian nation is Ethiopia, you know, and so I'm like, wow, it's really cool to see like the African roots of my faith and how for Ethiopian celebrations, the Ethiopian church, coffee is central to those celebrations, either before or after. And seeing how that there's a ceremony and a ritual that each community does where, you know, they like roast the beans in front of you. It's done by women and the whole community comes together to talk through problems or to connect or to do, you know, just almost like a big reunion or a potluck almost. And so that process is connected to them. I had a friend who said for the Oromo people, which is the ethnic group that we're most familiar with, coffee is not just a drink to get you going, but it's a way to connect to your family, to your communities, to nature. And for them, coffee is everything. And it's like, man, seeing how like a piece of creation can be used to make us appreciate our creator even more is that's God's intent for everything he made, is that as we learn to understand and appreciate it, it makes us love and appreciate him more. And I think that's even more true for each other as we learn to appreciate each other in a way that, especially with my wife and my family, the uniqueness, the unique individual personalities God's given each person, like, wow, each of these are a representation of a part of the image of and a part of why I should love the creator even more. If I love this thing he made, how much more greater is he? So I think that's something I think about a lot. That's something I'm excited about, you know?
Yeah, I think mine is more around, so it's similar to the spiritual aspect, but it's when I'm roasting, and it's almost the first time I roasted was almost like a spiritual experience. I was telling Maurice this the other day, but it was just like a spiritual experience to know on several folds. So like I'm connected to something historically that did not get brought to America, and in fact got, you know, wiped from what we know about coffee in America. So as a Black woman specifically, that was very I don't know, just like eye-opening for me. And then spiritually, I think I was roasting one day and I thought about, man, I hope this batch comes out like, because my very first batch that I made, Maurice was like, this slap. That's what he said. This slap. I don't sound right saying it, but he said this slap, as in to say it was good. Okay. But like, and so I had kind of like the steps that I had taken. I take notes. I'm very scientific about it. And so I was like, okay, well, I need to make sure I do this, this, and this, or people are going to complain. And I was just in my head about it. And then, you know, I was getting done roasting and I was like, what, at the end of the day, what am I fearing as I'm roasting? And the fear is that people will reject whatever the product is that comes out, you know, whatever comes out of the roaster, which could be, you know, it could be developed, which means, you know, I roasted too long, underdeveloped, I didn't roast long enough. But I was thinking, I'm like, man, this happens in life where people are like, you know, before I walk out of the door, like, what are people gonna like? I need to make sure, you know, I'm aligning myself to what people are gonna accept and be okay with, versus stopping and saying like, the creator made. So like at the end of the day, if people don't like the beans, the roast that I like when I get done with a roast, if they don't like it, only so much of it is due to roast. Okay. A lot of it has to do with how it came out of the ground. And I think a lot of issues people have specifically with us as a Black community are things that they got to go to the creator about. This is how we came out of the ground. If you don't like with about my, you don't like my hair, go talk to the creator. This is how he made. If you don't like my, go talk to the creator. And at the end of the day, I can't worry about how am I going out of the door in the morning. I got to make sure, even as we're talking more and telling the story of Coffee Black more, I got to be less concerned about how I present and saying the right things and doing the right things, and more about, man, how can I point people towards the creator? Whatever those issues they have, they can go to him and don't come to me, because I don't.
You're not the one.
I'm not the one. Either I'm giving you the complete cold shoulder, I'm great at the cold shoulder, or I'm going clean off. And I don't need to do either one of those. So for me, I'm like, I'm gonna give you the creator, because that's what, you know, at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. Try Jesus, don't try me. Yeah, we want to the creator.
Yeah. She from Memphis.
She from Memphis.
Yes, that's cool. I've been speaking of like how you merge the Black history of coffee and just how you bring coffee and Black history together. I've just been very inspired about how you guys have like put that up front for people to see. And I think I saw something, a bag that y'all have. I guess y'all new bags. Y'all have like a message on the back of it, kind of telling the story of how the coffee was stolen from the Dutch and brought to Jamestown, Virginia, and 3 years later, Black people ended up in Jamestown. And so, why did you feel like that message needed to come out? To share that message to people, to actually be intentional enough to write that. It was like a paragraph on the back of the bag. So it's like, you guys were very intentional about getting that message across to people. Why do you feel like that was important to do that?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of layers to why it's important. I think there's like a marketing reason as far as like making our company distinct from other kind of specialty coffee companies. A lot of that has to do with Renata's aesthetic, and she designed that bag. She wrote that out in her handwriting. And I think that having a Black aesthetic was important to us. And that's, I could talk for a very long time about like importance of, reclaiming Black aesthetics and marketing of Black products versus our stuff. But I'll get into that. I think the big reason, man, was just because the number one reason was because we wanted to share that history, wanted to be empowering. And so the first is having a good product. Once we knew the coffee was good, it's like, how do we make sure that people have the experience we feel that we want to have, so powered by it. And if I just gave you the coffee, you wouldn't really know. And so we had to put that truth out there, because scripture, everything that's hidden is going to come to light. Everything that's done in the dark. And so for us, it was an opportunity to be very unapologetically bold about the truth. And just to kind of reiterate, coffee was stolen it said that coffee was stolen for the mocha in 1616
by two
Dutch spies. And 3 years later, the first Black bodies are in town. And even since that point, we've learned even more about how many of those Black bodies that were taken to grow coffee in areas where some of the Dutch and their colonizing friends were seeking to grow that cash crop. So a lot of the slave labor used to grow coffee in the Caribbean, Central America, South America were enslaved Africans who were taken in the slave trade, just like our ancestors were. And so, and now it's like, man, now it's time to reclaim this. It is such a big industry. And, it's time to restore the years that the locals have stolen, that God has given us back what people have taken from us. And that, the things that people born, you know what I mean, has become the corner. Like that stone that was rejected has become the cornerstone. And we simply, we're not even, there's a line there. This is not about preferences. It's not about trying to say which one is better. It's simply saying this is what God has given me, and we're going to enjoy it and celebrate it. And if you like it, you can have it. But it's not a conversation of whether or not you gonna say whether or not did God really give, because we already see how the first time somebody tried to answer that question went. Did God
right? How that turned out.
This is what God gave you. If you don't like it, then you go figure out what He gave you. You feel me? But we doing this, and so I think that's what we wanted it, and we wanted it to be something that was empowering. When you read it, it was educational, gave you enough information to feel like you were equipped to be able to have some knowledge or some pride, but open enough to where even if you didn't necessarily relate, you could see what we were trying to do. And so, that whole message on the back of the bag, man, turned into a really great piece for us as we started, because, man, people would just be like tagging us in the back of the bag, and like,
Y'all going out on us.
That perspective. So it's kind of normal to me. So I was like, okay, cool. If this is our album, Gucci Mane, kind of sounds like Gucci Mane. It's from the Gucci region of Ethiopia. We're from Memphis, so it's got to be Mane. You feel me? It's like, yo, we got to find it there. This is the piece that let people know what this is really about. Like, if you hear the music, hear the artist talk about the music, you know the message. But if you see them notes, like, just in case you got it twisted, like, this is not just because the lettering. I'm gonna stop talking soon because I can really talk about this for a very long time. But yeah, we just wanted people to know that it was about something important and serious. We wanted people to know that it was about us reconnecting to our God-given heritage, and not just with the coffee, even, but with our faith, and reconnecting to who God has created us to be overall, and enjoying creation in that process. So yeah, you asked the right question. Say about that.
It's very powerful to watch you guys do what you're doing, and so to even see the successes you have. I know sometimes it don't feel like it, but it's encouraging to watch. It's encouraging to watch you guys work together, to watch you really be on mission together. And you just kind of explained. You just gave us like probably a tip of what you probably really want to say, or all the information that you actually have, around the purpose of why you do what you do. And so it's just really powerful. My girl just kind of like talked about how she was roasting and all that stuff. And, she didn't acknowledge that she is, and I hope I got this right, the first Black female roaster in Memphis. Yep. Is that right?
That's right. That's what I heard.
So we're family, and so we take pride in even that, and just knowing that you guys are just stepping out on faith and doing what you feel that you are called to do. And so that's really what it's about. And give me one last thing, and then we're gonna let y'all go. What advice would you give another couple that is considering doing business together, or considering, or Renata, of a wife that sees her husband and his passion, and what advice would you give that you may have not already given?
I think, man, I could say a lot on that. I think one big one is it's not a competition. So you're not, your husband is not your enemy or your opponent. That in this marriage, you are being built up to really share in that burden with him, not burden, but you know what I mean, to carry that with him, versus, because it can get really tedious, well, I kept the children yesterday, I should
on my time.
And so, it's really hard to not tally is what I'm thinking about. So like keeping score. Don't keep score. You lose a lot of time. And then just be very honest. There's a lot of times where my husband is gone a lot, meetings, out of town, and I can't go out of town sometimes because the boys are in school, things like that. And being honest, I've had to tell him, like, I miss you. Like, I wish you were here more, versus being bitter or spiteful and being like, bye, whatever. I've had those moments too, but I think the better moments have been when I said, like, hey, let's spend some time together, just being more human, and sharing that emotional side. So you don't get so caught up in all we talk about is the business. That's all we want together, versus, hey, let's make dinner together, or let's go take a walk together.
Yeah.
Those kind of things are super valuable. So just being honest and saying, I miss spending time with you, or whatever it is. So yeah, competition. This is not a competition. And just being open, just being really honest. Yeah. What about you?
Man, you said a lot. I could literally on that, but I know we're short for time, so I'm gonna try to y'all just think of what she said. She just dropped. But me, I think, and I would say, only expect your wife to follow you as you follow Christ. So I would say, my dad always says this: God gave man a work to do before he gave him a woman to love. And I think, you're from the Most High, then it's a no. You'll be surprised. If you're with a woman, you'll be surprised by the amount of support you receive. I felt overwhelmed to tears, even on our first date. The amount
he cried on our first date. I don't know if y'all heard that.
Yeah, brand new.
Saw God's plan for me and was so sure. Like, she was more sure about God's plan for me than I was, and I felt very sure. And I was like, nobody's gonna get this. It's just gonna be me. And then she was like, no, it's gonna be us. And I was like, oh, really? And the amount of support, like, she'll just, my cup will overflow with support from her. As I'm following Christ and as that purpose, because what I told her is that God's first responsibility he gave me in doing this work was to make sure that I put you and the family first. And so every time we hit a fork in the road, I've told her, you got the right to just say, hey, we done. And I'm out. I walk away from everything. You know what I mean? From music to the business to whatever. I said, I go get a teaching job in Westwood whenever you want. We'll get that check coming in. And that's what, if you feel uncomfortable or you feel like I'm not really trusting God with this, and God, I'm not really doing this like I'm supposed to, let me know. And she's had that. I told her that when we got engaged. I was like, I know I'm doing ministry, I know I'm doing business, I know I'm doing music, but when I put this ring on you, that means you come first.
Right.
So work a job and be miserable, I will, because I'd rather be miserable with my job and happy at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
job and miserable at home, because I don't got no peace going out and do any type of work in my spirit when I feel like my wife feels unsafe or unloved, or my children feel unseen. And it's not that I can do that 100% all the time, but let her know that commitment is there. So I would say to men, especially purpose, like your purpose is not more important than your people. Like the point of the purpose is to provide for your people. You know what I mean? And so if your purpose begins to push your people away, and it's not really a purpose anymore, right? It's been perverted. There's enough P's for this, you know what I mean, illustration. But I think for that thing you gotta watch is like you can't let your purpose become an idol.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah,
from God, and it's from God for His people. And so when it becomes something that you do in front of God, you put God, and it takes you away from His people, then that's where you got to really start to evaluate. And that's why I give my wife the ability, and all my, you know, my day ones, my homies, like, hey, if I'm tripping, just call me, because I will trip. You know, I just need y'all to pick me up and let me know I'm tripping. You know what I mean? So that's the thing. And so far, she hadn't pushed the button, but I think it helps her know to have faith and feel confident. Like if she pushed that button, she knows like I will. Like, so I think I think for her that makes her feel more confident in not pushing it in some ways, because she's like, well, I know doing this because he's doing this for us, not to get away from us.
For sure.
And that we have to have those reminders too. You know what I mean? Like I gotta remind myself, because sometimes you just doing the work. You're not thinking about doing it, you're just doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah. Man, yeah, we always gotta reassure our wives that they are first. They are our first ministry. So, you know, it's always good to hear as men of God, to try to make sure we make our wives, our children, our home, our first ministry. So man, y'all just gave some nuggets and gave out some great advice on how to work together in business. It's hard, you know, spending hours grinding and trying to figure things out as you go. It's tough, you know.
Take lunch. So, you feel me? That's a tip. They take lunch breaks.
Yeah, take breaks. Yeah,
take breaks.
Rest. Take momcations. Rest. That's the most spiritual thing you can do sometimes is take breaks and take a rest. Yeah. But so again, we're gonna close it out and just say, man, we're so grateful that y'all was able to come on and just bless us and bless the people and bless the Budget Me Black community. So man, glad to have you guys on. And
you know, we love Budget Me Black.
Yeah.
And we love y'all.
Same here, man.
So congratulations on all your successes. So we're like I said, we're just as excited for y'all as probably as y'all are for yourselves. So thank y'all so much for doing this.
Thank you.
No problem.
Y'all have a good night.
Good night.